We start off this edition of Today Tonight with some big news coming in from New York. The governor of New York, Andrew Cuomo, has stepped down. He has announced his resignation publicly, which will be effective in 14 days. This development takes place nearly a week after the state attorney general's office had released a report which had confirmed that Andrew Cuomo had sexually harassed nearly a dozen women. Remember, Andrew Cuomo had rejected calls from President Joe Biden and other leading Democrats to step down from his position. The state lawmakers had decided to impeach him. Cuomo had been given a deadline of the 13th of August to submit evidence in his defense to their impeachment investigation. He will be replaced now with Lieutenant Governor Kathy Hochul, who will become the state's first female executive. At least 5 district attorneys had also opened inquiries into Andrew Cuomo's behavior. The recent allegations accused the New York governor of creating a hostile workplace for women and even taking retaliatory action against at least one of his accusers. Legal experts have suggested that Cuomo could face forcible touching misdemeanor charges as well. Listen in now to what Andrew Cuomo had to say just a short while back while addressing those allegations of sexual harassment and misconduct.
New York tough means New York loving. And I love New York. And I love you. And everything I have ever done has been motivated by that love. And I would never want to be unhelpful in any way. And I think that given the circumstances, the best way I can help now is if I step aside and let government get back to governing. And therefore, that's what I'll do. Because I work for you. And doing the right thing is doing the right thing for you.
And joining us on the broadcast this minute is our correspondent Susan Tehrani from New York. Susan, last week when the state investigation was revealed, we were talking about whether Andrew Cuomo would step down. It seems like he was left with no choice but to step aside.
Absolutely a shocking announcement by the governor, considering the fact that he started his speech once again being very defiant and denying a lot of the accusations of the sexual harassment that was reported by the Attorney General's office against him, saying that, you know, he comes from a different culture, he was raised this way, and then a change of tone in the middle of that speech, basically saying that it will cost taxpayers a lot of money if impeachment proceedings will go ahead, and whether or not, you know, he would have to defend himself, so on and so forth. And ultimately really presenting his resignation effective in 14 days. Yes, he did decide to resign, and citing the reason for these sexual harassment allegations. However, it's safe to note that Andrew Cuomo is still under investigation for other issues, including the cover-up of nursing home fatalities and the number of elderly killed in nursing homes during the height of the COVID pandemic, funds used because of the construction of the Mario Cuomo Bridge, whether or not he used public funds to write his biography, and how to be a good leader during the height of the pandemic as well. So he's under investigation for a slew of issues, but apparently this was the one that was brought to the forefront, and this was the one that ultimately ended the Cuomo administration here in New York very abruptly.
Right. Stay with me, Susan. Andrew Cuomo, just a short while back, while delivering that address, had spoken at length. Let's take a listen in to some more excerpts from that address that he delivered. He also has apologized to the women.
This is not to say that there are not 11 women who I truly offended. There are. And for that, I deeply, deeply apologize. I thought a hug and putting my arm around a staff person while taking a picture was friendly. but she found it to be too forward. I kissed a woman on the cheek at a wedding, and I thought I was being nice, but she felt that it was too aggressive. I have slipped and called people honey, sweetheart, and darling. I meant it to be endearing, but women found it dated and offensive. But I want to thank the women who came forward with sincere complaints. It's not easy to step forward, but you did an important service. And you taught me, and you taught others an important lesson. Personal boundaries must be expanded and must be protected. I accept full responsibility.
Susan, it's important for our viewers to also understand the context in which that address is coming. Like you said, Andrew Cuomo had been defensive all along, even in this speech. Right at the beginning of this excerpt that we just played out, he's talking about how he delivered some remarks that the women found to be offensive. So he is once again sounding defensive, but then goes on to say that he does feel that the women have had a lot of courage when they have come forward, and that it's not easy to come forward.
Right. He's done this throughout this controversy. He did really set the groundwork for those that didn't hear his complete speech. At the beginning of the speech, he set the groundwork and said that, first of all, let me be very clear, the Attorney General's report are allegations. They are not facts. That being said, I do have a right to defend myself if I have to. The process of due process in America is ongoing. It's part of the Constitution. That being said, yes, I understand that it's sort of apologizing for why someone felt the way they did, not apologizing for someone's own actions, which we see a lot of times happening in normal circumstances as well. So that sort of was the case in this situation as well. So that's what Andrew Cuomo was doing. He somewhat acknowledged the fact that he might have crossed the line based on some conceptions, cultural aspects of it, but he really didn't mean anything by it. He stood by this concept throughout this whole process. I mean, nothing changed on that front. His tone and rhetoric was somewhat different during this press conference, of course.
Right. We're leaving it there for the moment, Susan. Of course, coming back to you as and when we have further reactions or updates coming in on that front. Thanks very much. WION now available in your country. Download the app now. Get all the news on the move.